Welcome to the Vibe Business Podcast, bringing positive business vibes to take you to a new level. My name is Nomi Farouk, and after a decade of working with businesses, it's time to inspire the next generation, chatting to the most influential business people of today. Today, I'm speaking to Jonathan Finch from Sales Geek to talk about all things sales and more. Norman here from Vibe Business. I'm joined today by Jonathan, head of group sales at Sales Geek, a company that specializes in sales and getting shit done. So that's the official title I've been given, and it's probably a breath of fresh air to hear a company that is that direct and actually to the point. So yeah, Jonathan, thanks for joining us today. It's an honor to have you here. But yeah, if you just want to introduce yourself to the audience as well, that would be great.
Absolutely. No, when we're out of lockdown, you'll have to come to our offices because we've got a big sign as you walk out of the offices that says right above it, "We get shit done," and we want everybody who leaves one of our sessions to go away with that in their head. Well, guys, yeah, very good afternoon. My name's Jonathan Finch. I lead our sales team over at Sales Geek. We're a business that does everything sales. If you're having an issue within sales or need any assistance with pipelines, routes to market, processes, that sort of thing, all the good fun stuff we get up to. But we are on a mission as a business to change the way that the world sees sales. I'm sure if a lot of you guys are in sales or marketing or small business owners, you'll know that sales probably isn't the most sexy subject to talk about. People don't often like talking about sales, but it is in essence the one thing that keeps the business cogs running and everything going within the business. So that's a little bit about what we do.
Awesome, brilliant. So to give us a bit of history about Sales Geek, like what is it like? When did you start? And what's your journey been like? And where are you today?
Absolutely. I mean, I joined Sales Geek. My background previously was in sales. I've worked in sales pretty much since I was 17, 18. I was one of these very strange people who actually left school and went, I want to get into sales. Most people fall into it. I decided I wanted to get into sales. It looked a lot more exciting than the college work that I wasn't doing at the time. So fell into sales, did about 5-6 year stint at a company called GovNet Communications and spent 6 years there. First of all as a sales exec, then leading the sales team, and then heading up all their training and development department. So that pretty much included me going into any failing departments or succeeding departments and either making them go faster or looking at reworking them, restructuring them, or doing some retraining with the departments there. Got headhunted by the University of Salford to take over their events and conference division, which was at the time, it was a team of about 12 people, and within about 3 weeks of me joining, they decided that they wanted to put me in charge of all the other departments, which was interesting because I went from being used to managing and running a team of about 12 people to taking on about 28 staff and 4 managers who were reporting to me, which was an interesting time. Public sector organisations, obviously it was a university, do work slightly differently from commercial organisations, and with that there's some real benefits, but there's also some things that are slightly difficult to get done. Left the university after about 18 months. I think did everything that we looked to achieve there with the divisions that I was in charge of, and decided I want to open my own business. So I set up my own company called Goldfinch Media, which was an awful name for a business. But at the time, it had got my surname in. I thought that sounds pretty snazzy. I was from a conference events media background. I thought that sounds pretty cool. And we did sales training, which is why it was weird that we were called a media agency, because we did sales training. But it was a great few months. And then I met my business partner, Richard Few. Richard ran a company called Sales Geek. They did a part-time sales director service. We didn't do anything like that on a strategy level, although I was getting asked for it more and was probably delivering it, just not as efficiently as Rich was. So we had 6 pints, I think, in 3 different pubs. Had a bit of a cuddle and went, shall we open a joint venture together? Rich had a much stronger brand than I did. I think Sales Geek is a much better name than Goldfinch Media. Oh, yeah, everybody says that, but thanks for that, no, cheers for pointing that out. So joined Sales Geek, and from there it's just flown. We had a tremendous year last year. It was one probably for the history books for us, really. We expanded from it being myself, Rich, and Lucy. all the way to being these I think there's 9, 10 of us now in the business, 9 full time and 10 we've got a guy who helps out part time. So it's been a tremendous year of growth in a lot of different ways. I suppose that's a little bit of the journey so far.
No, brilliant. No, that sounds really good. I think very interesting. Obviously, I've talked to him. I met Rich as well. He's an awesome guy, and I think he's kind of maybe a perfect person to be running Sales Geek as well with you. So I think I met you guys at an event a while ago, right in Bolton, I think originally when I was first introduced to you. But I remember seeing the name Sales Geek, and I thought, right, okay, that's a cool name for what you guys are doing, and it stands out. It's like it's a bit quirky, and you guys have the glasses things going on and stuff like that, and you definitely stood out as a brand and as a name for sure. So yeah, that was quite good. So this might be a difficult question. I mean, I've been pondering on why for a while after reading a lot of sort of Simon Sinek stuff and trying to work out what our why is. But is that something you worked out now? Like, why does Sales Geek exist right now?
I mean, I think there's 2 different questions there, and not really a difficult one to answer. Sales Geek as a business, I mean, we exist to change the way that the world sees sales. That is our whole mission, and everything that we do as a business, as an organization, with any companies that we work with, is all focused on that. It's not a very sexy profession, but every single business in the world runs off sales. You know, there's pretty much no businesses out there that don't need sales coming into them, whether you're a charity, a not-for-profit, a commercial organisation. Some public sector organisations need to have revenue coming in. And we want to change the way that the world sees that. It's been a phenomenal career and a ride for me so far. I've very much enjoyed it. It's kept me fed and watered. If you're good at it, it pays extremely well, and it's not really promoted. And I think one of the reasons that ties back into my personal why was probably one thing that I did miss out about the story at the university. Was I was probably 12 months into that role, and I pulled over while driving home one day at the side of the motorway, and I had a panic attack. I've never experienced anything like it before in my life. My whole body tightened up. I couldn't breathe. I thought I was having a heart attack. A police officer ended up pulling up behind me with the blues and twos on the hard shoulder. That definitely didn't help the panic attack. But pulled over, sat next to me in the car, sort of came round. I think he thought I was having a heart attack as well at the time, but ended up talking to me for 10, 15, 20 minutes. It seemed like hours that we were there talking, but eventually managed to sort of bring me back to and set back off home. Drove home very slowly, about 40 miles an hour in the left-hand lane. But at the time, I think I had all of the willpower, I had all of the energy that I needed to succeed. But there was, when I started that role, it was a very big role to take over. There was a lot of issues in the department, and I didn't have the mentoring or training that I needed within it. I had absolutely everything else that you needed to succeed in that role, but I didn't necessarily have some of the skill sets. And I think it really, my why is to try and help any other salespeople never be in the position that I was there. It was a very, very dark and deep place. But luckily, I mean, I think it's part of my personality. I do bounce back very well. So I bounced back from it and decided that wasn't going to define me. I could have left the profession then and got another job. But there's been other times in my life that haven't been that bad, but have also been very difficult. And, you know, within sales, I've wanted someone or something out there to go and help me, to guide me towards that shining light of from a skill set perspective, what I needed to do to achieve my career goals. And that's what I exist to do. And I think that ties very, very well in with what we do as a business at Sales Geek.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. I think that all that sounds really good. And I think it's quite, you know, you've got a clear path there. I think there's another message in there about bouncing back as well. Because it's like, even in business or even in anything in life, really, the difference between getting over the line and not getting over the line is how you bounce back. And like, failure is just part of it. You know, it's kind of, whether it's failure or you get knocked back, you know, the persistence is the difference probably between champions and failures, in my opinion. So there's another lesson there about bouncing back and just persisting with, you know, what you believe in. So, you know, glad you brought that up. Cool. So moving on a little bit and getting into a little bit of nitty gritty of sort of sales. Kind of how are sales looking in 2020, and you know, what are you what are you doing differently to 2020 to say 5 years ago? I understand we're in a lockdown, but in a general sense, like now that we're in 2020, we're in this tech age. What is it you're looking at? What is so different today than say 5 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, if you sort of look at the last 5 years within sales, probably bits have changed within the last sort of 4.5 years or 4.75 years. But the biggest changes, I think, across all industries and sectors have happened within the last 3 months. And I'm sure we can probably go a whole podcast without using the C word. But
Yeah.
COVID has massively changed landscapes. It's changed the way that we interact as people. We spend a lot more time on social media. If you look at the stats and the way that people are marketing, advertising themselves now, it's due to attention. Attention has changed. Long gone in this last 12 weeks were the times when people were driving past billboards and that was a way of advertising, and whole industries have disappeared from that. But as attention spans have changed, that's also meant that marketing and sales avenues have changed. How are sales looking in 2020 for us? We've had a phenomenal 3 months. It's been very good for us in a lot of ways, but we did act very quickly. We made some decisive decisions and changed things. For a lot of the businesses that we're working with, like anyone else, I think that first 2-3 weeks was a bit of a scary patch, but for companies that got on top of it, jumped on it, implemented a new strategy, it's been very positive. I am hugely optimistic about the future. I don't think there has probably been a better time to get into a sales role. I keep calling it the 1% club, but I do see this 1% of sales professionals that are coming through the industry at the moment and coming through that are just willing to do the things that the other 99% are. They're willing to come in that little extra bit early. They're willing to get on the phone when everybody else would send an email. They're willing to ask for the business when nobody else would. And for that 1% of sales professionals that are out there that are willing to do all of that stuff, there is going to be some tremendous paychecks coming out of there, because I think that talent pool has probably got a little bit smaller. We're doing our very best to help expand that. But I do think that talent pool has got a little bit smaller, and I think that's partly a generational thing. If we look at the ways that we take information in, or youngsters take information in now, a lot of it is through phones. It's not through face-to-face interaction. So that does also have to affect and change the way that we set our sales process out if we're going to be succeeding long term.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think, like you said, we can't avoid not using the C word. What's happened in the last 3 months. We could talk generally, but I think what's happened in the last 3 months with COVID is going to change the sales landscape. It's change the business landscape altogether, but in terms of how we do sales and what we do. And it's important you mentioned the distinction between the people who are going to go the extra mile. They're the ones who are going to succeed. I think people today still are afraid to get on the phone. And it seems to be a common thing. Where people, even in this period, have been like, no, we don't want to get on the phone. People don't want to speak to us, and a lot of it's just assumption, probably, or they've got a fear of some kind of thing going on. So, like, we can talk about all the social media and all the technology and all the stuff, but maybe the good old picking up the phone is still, something in the artillery which salespeople should be using. And perhaps I've shied away from. I think generally before this period, it was a problem anyway, getting people on the phone and getting the numbers up on the phone and stuff. But you're probably know more about that than I do. But I think it's important to mention that sort of distinction in what's going to separate a salesperson or a sales department from those who won't succeed in this period and beyond. So is there a kind of in terms of the general sales landscape, salespeople and sales departments, what effect has kind of the last 3 months had on kind of companies and the sales department and salespeople? Because I've been getting mixed messages. Like, I've been speaking to companies who got rid of the salespeople, or they've changed the sales tactics, or they're just taking a break in this period. Well, what's been your experience?
I think it very much depends on the business that you get to, whether it's recession, whether it's time of year, whether it's COVID. And whenever there's change, there's always opportunity. So there's opportunity on one side, but there's also opportunities not to do better things. And for me, I think the resourceful salespeople during this time have really used everything to their advantage, again, to their advantage. But one of the things here, I mean, people were saying to me in the first 2-3 weeks, we just don't think we should be prospecting. People have got too much on at the moment. I made more senior level contacts within that first 3 weeks than I probably have in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
It was never easier to get anyone on the phone. You know, everybody had gone, right, Boris did his update, everyone's working from home, everybody's now scrambling around trying to make sure they can work from home. Realistically, it took most people a day to settle from work from home. You know, people go, oh, it's took us, you know, it's taking people 2 to 3 weeks to settle. No, it's not. Everyone's got internet, everyone's got a webcam, you can work from home. It's not that difficult in most industries, given there's obviously some differences on that where people have to physically be there. The smart salespeople were clearing up during that time. If you rung the reception desk and said, wonder if you could help me, can I get Tony's mobile number, please? I need to speak to him. Yes, give me a second. I'll put you through to Tony, or here's his mobile number. Tony might be the VP of sales at a really big company that you want to get in contact with. But while there was that turmoil going on, it didn't necessarily mean that we were going to be making sales during that point. And we didn't make many sales during the first part of COVID. But what we did do was really fill our funnel and fill our prospect bank. And a lot of people, I think, went, we're not going to prospect because we're not going to make sales. And that's not how sales works. You should always be prospecting, continually making new contacts and making new people that you know, in order to get them into your funnel. And I think that was a big thing for us and for our clients that we're working with, where we said, don't start marketing, don't stop and turn off your sales channels, because now we're seeing massive benefits from that. The stuff that we did at the start of COVID is coming through now. It took longer. Our traditional close rate, depending on the product, but can be anything between 2 and 3 weeks. That lengthened. It was 6, 7, 8 weeks. But the stuff we did at the start now is coming through. And I think there was always this idea of, oh, COVID's coming, there's not going to be any money anywhere. Money doesn't just disappear. If someone gives it from this hand to this hand, it still exists. It's still there. Yeah. You might not be getting your hands on it, but that's probably because you're not doing something right, rather than people aren't spending it. People will always be spending money, and you know, the media and the papers will tell you we've had 20% a drop in what's going on within the economy. Yeah. There's still 80% to go at.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, completely agree. It's the optimistic approach, I suppose, and it's very important because, you know, there's still stuff to go at. That's the main thing. You know, there's still stuff to be done. So I think from my experience, kind of like we had a couple of salespeople, and I was doing a lot of sales, as I have been doing since the beginning of the business. And like I said, the prospecting doesn't stop. Like the connections don't stop. Yeah, someone's not going to buy off you within 2 minutes like they used to, perhaps, but you can still provide value to people through content. And you can like position yourself as an authority in this period, and that is going to later down the line, that's going to be invaluable. You know, and I think it's important, like I said, prospecting is always, no matter what the environment is, you can always be prospecting, you can always be talking to people, making connections, and just having conversations, like, you know, without the hard sell, and then yeah, it kind of comes back to you.
I think that just from what you said there as well, though, a lot of salespeople and business owners in that very first period of COVID went, what can I get from this situation? So do I need to go out and push to get those sales in? Yeah. Rather than flipping that over and going, what can I give? Yeah. And if you look at it's a great mentality to have as a salesperson. But if you can continually be looking at where can you add value and what can you give, you will get in return. It's the laws of reciprocity. You're going to get it given back to you. But a lot of people, and you know, still seeing it now, have got a little bit desperate. There's more LinkedIn salesy messages coming through than ever before. Connection request. Hi, I'm such a body. I do this. Are you interested? Click my diary below to book in with me. No, absolutely not, mate. Not a chance. You think I'm going to book in your diary with you after you sent me a cold message? Not a chance. But inquiries-wise, you know, for companies that I think have really seen through this period that they can give value and there's extra things that they can give. There's so many different ways to give value. There's hundreds of different ways that you can give value to your prospects where you don't have to sell to them. But if you continually give and give and give to someone, it's only a matter of time before they're going to give back to you. And if they don't, that's absolutely fine. Keep giving and eventually that opportunity will come for you.
Yeah, yeah. And that could come down to a numbers game, innit? Like there's some people get put off where they've given a whole load and they might be doing it for months or years and they're not getting anything back. Whereas, you know, if you've got 10 or 20 of these, like if 5 of them drop for you, it might be valuable and it's like all worth it. But at the same time, even if you're giving, there's still value for you if you're not getting back, because you're positioning yourself as an authority, you're practicing at certain things, you're practicing at giving knowledge and kind of positioning yourself as well. So there's definite still benefit if nothing comes back in monetary value.
You talked before about Simon Sinek. I mean, one of the biggest principles that I've ever taken from that is around playing the infinite game. And salespeople that are playing the infinite game, constantly filling their pipelines, constantly giving value, not just thinking about this deal, but thinking how they can help the client next time. Once you start thinking about it as an infinite game, it changes the way that you give value. You're not thinking, I'm just doing this to get this deal out of you. Yeah. Because once you've done that, the process ends and you have to start that again with someone else. Yeah. Well, once you've sold to someone, if you can continue to give value, even if you can't sell to that person again, maybe it's a product they only have to buy once. People know people. That person will know 10, 15, 20 other people. The nicer you are to them, the more they'll refer you into it. And referrals, wow, such an underutilized sales tool.
Absolutely.
Is there anyone else you know you can connect me to? I noticed on LinkedIn that you know Bob. I wondered, what's the best way to get in contact with Bob? Oh, I'll connect you up with Bob. I know him really well. I know I've kept seeing that you're posting on each other's stuff. Yeah. Really great way of getting new business. And if you've got 20 clients that you're dealing with at the moment, if you ask every one of those for a referral, do you know what? You're going to end up with about 5 referrals. Yeah. That's 5 new clients you've got, which means you've now got 25 clients in that pot if you convert all 5 and you're very good at sales. Yeah. So then out of that 25, you can ask those 5 if they've got a referral fee. You don't have to keep topping stuff up as much. Yeah. You can constantly be using the database, using the clients that you've got. And this is where a lot of really good companies who take this sales approach can do some really organic growth rather than constantly having to spend huge amounts on marketing.
Absolutely, a really good point there on referrals. Like, even I'm guilty of it myself on like always going for the new strangers and stuff. I think there's a certain buzz about that, but it's I'm the same. I've built up so many connections over the years. I've been running Shoot Business, and like it's a media agency. We've been producing videos for brands. We've got so many happy clients. Like, just that question of, do you know anybody else? Because I think like the testimonials that we've had is, like, we provide a service, and like there's other companies that provide that service, but the feedback we get is we enjoy working with you, or we enjoy working with your team, we enjoy working with you as people. And like when that comes across as a referral, it's so strong. You know, if company A refers me to company B and says, Nomi and his team are really good to work with, they're awesome and they do awesome work. Like, I'm ahead of everybody else in the race when I do pitch to them, and it's like I'm way ahead. So it's so underrated, referrals.
I think as well, I mean, the key point that you put there, that you enjoy with working with that team and that team enjoy working with you. The odds are, if that person knows someone else, they're going to be similar in the characteristics. You don't normally get someone who's a really good, honest person who's very good friends with a really dishonest, horrible person. Yeah. So if you get on really well with somebody there, they're probably going to know someone who you'd also get on well with. They'll share the same values. They'll have the same sense of humor. And I think people often look for referrals and go, I need to look for something that is going to be really financially beneficial to me. And you might go to one client and get a 10 grand project off them, but you don't really enjoy working with the client. They don't enjoy working with you, which then means they complain at the end of it, or they complain throughout the process. So then you start putting more and more resources into that to make them happy when they're a difficult client, and you actually end up with a really low profit margin. On the other side of that, you find a client that you get a 5 grand project with, so something smaller. You do a really good job of that. They love working with you. They refer you on to someone else. In a year's time, they then need you again to come in and do another video for them or some more services. And if you look at the lifetime value of a client, the full lifetime value of it, rather than that one project, completely changes the way that you think about your pipeline.
Yeah, absolutely. No, really good bits of advice there. So moving on a little bit. So right now we've just been announced on Monday that non-essential shops are opening. We're trying to come out of this lockdown situation. We've been in a full lockdown before that, and the next month or 2 months it should see the opening up of businesses and the economy here in the UK. what advice would you give to people in this next 2, 3 months in terms of salespeople and sales departments? What kind of specific advice would you give them coming out of this period?
Yeah, I think there's 3 tips I can give you on that. It was actually a LinkedIn video that I did this morning, so I've probably got 3 ready for you there. But 3 top tips to hit the ground running out of this. And the reason that this is so important at the moment, markets have been frozen. A lot of markets have been frozen. Not every market, but a lot of markets have been frozen over this 3 month. Now, the budget that those companies have had over this 3 month period hasn't disappeared. Those companies still have it. They have put a hold on it. And this happened across a lot of sectors, ringing up decisions, and decisions were going, all budgets have been put on hold. Some of those will be being rolled out now. So within the next 2-3 weeks, as things are going back to normal, the MD will email all of the senior leadership team and go, hi guys, so we are getting back to normal now. So budgets that were previously frozen, we're going to unfreeze. Not going to happen in every industry, but will happen across a lot of sectors. Yeah. Now, if you're not in front of your clients, your competitors will be. Someone else will be chasing that business. So very first thing, make sure that you are following up on every single decision, proposal you had on the table before doing anything else. Don't go out trying to hunt some fresh stuff. Go after the easy pickings, which will be the stuff in your pipeline. Because what will happen is if you don't get on top of that quickly enough, somebody else will get on top of that, and you'll ring it back in a week's time and they'll go, oh, I'm really sorry, if you'd have rung us, I've forgotten we spoke to you, such a body rung me, and we've gone with them, and you're going to go, oh, all right, and you're going to get that horrible salesperson feeling inside where you've lost a deal to one of your competitors. So first thing there, get on top of everything that you've already been doing. Second thing, make sure that you are continually prospecting. This is a great time to be prospecting because, as I just mentioned, your competitors will be going after your clients, but you can still be going after theirs. So make sure that every single day you are making 10 new connections. And when I say 10 new connections, don't go on LinkedIn and add 10 connections and go, brilliant, I've done what Jonathan said, that's my 10 connections for the day. Open, meaningful conversations with 10 different people. That might be dropping them a very personalized message saying, hi, Naomi, I saw that post that you put up the other day regarding videography. Those 3 tips that you gave out were absolutely brilliant. What would your 4th or 5th tip be? Or are you producing any more video content that I could follow? I've now got a conversation going with Naomi. The odds are he's going to respond to me. Conversations open up opportunities. So make sure that you are opening up at least 10 conversations per day. This isn't difficult to do. If you could open those up on the phone, even better. If you can't, just use LinkedIn and start messaging people. Don't send copy and paste messages. Send them something specific and try if you can, if you see an opportunity, to turn that into a phone call or into a Zoom call. Third thing there, which is one that I've just touched on there, Zoom is your new best friend. I used to be able to get into my diary between 3 and 4 meetings a day if I really was in the car, jetting from one, jetting to the other, and that would probably mean I was starting at 8 and finishing at 6. I can now fit very comfortably into my diary 6 meetings, 2 podcasts, and respond to all my emails and time in between because I haven't got all of that travel time. Zoom, it is opened so much up if you're using it effectively. Now, face-to-face sales isn't ever going to go away. There's still going to be a percentage of stuff that does need to be done face-to-face. But what Zoom allows you to do is qualify better. I'm not zooming around going to 4 meetings and finding out that 3 of them weren't great because someone else put them in my diary. I'm using Zoom to qualify those, which saves me a heck of a lot of time and is saving the business a heck of a lot of money. So that would be my 3rd tip. Zoom is your best friend. Did I give 3 there or did I just give 2?
You did. I was just trying to write them down then, and I'm going to just repeat them so people don't forget about them. So we had companies are setting budgets at the moment, and they're coming back out of lockdown. They're starting to release money from the funds and the bank accounts to whichever department. So follow up on your existing people or like previous proposals that you had, and say, try to progress it a little bit, because otherwise the next week is gonna take the business.
Yep.
And then the second one was conversations. 10 connections a day. 10 conversations a day, proper conversations, personal conversations, not automated stuff, but actual conversations, picking up and having meaningful conversations with people who might be interested, or there might be an overlap with the services. And the third one was take advantage of Zoom and kind of use it to qualify people, use it for time efficiency, and set up more meetings. So there you go. I was listening as well. So there's three really good tips actually, and I'm not just saying this for the podcast. I think it's something we personally can take away as a company. I can personally take away and up my game in them three aspects. So some really good advice there, Jonathan. So thanks for that. Cool. So coming on kind of towards the end here and the last bits. I wanted some advice for the smaller guys now. It's like there's a lot of startups. Some people are thinking of starting up now. Some people have started up 6 months ago and thought it's probably the wrong time to be starting up now. But as a startup, you've been there, I've been there. Generally the founders and startup guys have to sell themselves. They don't have the luxury of recruiting a big sales team or experienced salespeople. And these are people that you guys might train and give advice to anyway. What advice would you give to that person? Like being a founder or an entrepreneur, you've got 100 other things to do, and sales takes up a little bit of time, and then organization, your product, and all that stuff. And especially when you're starting out, could be 1 year, could be 2 years, could be 3 years before you can start looking at your departments and getting specialized people in there. What advice would you give to that person, that sort of one-man band to start with, startup situation, and they need to sell to survive, right?
Absolutely. I suppose two tips on that. One, you pretty much summarized it there, but sales is survival. You can have the best product in the world. If nobody knows about it, that product will die with your business. So whatever you are doing, make sure that you set up some specific time to be focusing on sales. And I definitely did this when I very first started my business. I mean, even coming from a sales background, I neglected sales. I wanted to make sure the product was perfect, that I designed the thing, it looked sexy, it was very nice when I put it out there. Yeah. And then I made this thing, went out to the sector, and a few people went, oh, I like that, but I don't really like that bit of it. And I went, back to the drawing board. So I went back to the drawing board and tried to fix it again. If you're not selling, you're not getting feedback from the sector. So when I say selling, this is the second part of this. I want you to just completely shift your mindset away from selling. So don't think, the connotation of selling has a really, you picture someone knocking on your door in a three-piece suit, come trying to jump into your house and talk to you about a certain thing. I'm not going to mention any industries there, but trying to talk to you about something and push something onto you. Take that out of your brain for the moment and just think, who out there could I add value to? And I'm going to prove the point here for you. So, Naomi, if I said to you that if you paid me £1,000, I will create you £10,000, is that valuable?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. So if I said that to you and that was my proposition, that I could turn £1,000 into £10,000, it's a valuable proposition. Now, vice versa, if Naomi said to me, I can create you a wonderful video campaign, Jonathan, that you're going to pay me £1,000 for, but it's going to create you 10 leads, which I know you'll convert at £1,000 each, so it's going to be £10,000 for you. That doesn't sound like selling to me. That sounds like adding a hell of a lot of value and being paid what you deserve for it.
Yeah.
Now, if you honestly can't sit there in front of you and go, I can say that I'm adding value to people, you need to reassess your product, you need to reassess your proposition. Yeah. But if you're completely confident that what you have is a valuable thing, you shouldn't go out and have to push it or sell it onto someone. It is your duty as a business person to be going out and adding that value to other people. Of course, they're going to pay you for it. Nobody does things for free, or very few people do things for free. But if I generated 10 grams worth of business for you, Naomi, I think £1,000 back for me is fair for us to do that. And calculations are different. I'm obviously, just using some examples there. But if you are completely confident that your product or service will add value and you are charging fairly for it, don't go out and try and sell. Go and find people that you can add value to, and they will buy from you.
Absolutely. Nice. Amazing again. Really good advice there. I think it's a mistake I made earlier on when I was setting up business. I was going to businesses and saying, buy this fantastic video, it's creative. And what I wasn't selling was the effect of it and like what the value is of having that video for a business, the attention that they're going to get, the sales that they're going to get from it, the brand awareness they're going to get from it. And that was the value that actually they were going to buy into, not this is a nice video for our shelf, which is all well and good. The product has to be quality, but it's actually the effect of it that people were buying into, getting the attention and all that stuff. So you've definitely hit the nail on the head there. Like sell the value. There's an old saying, sell the sizzle, which comes to mind. But yeah, I completely agree with that. So yeah, just finally, I'm just gonna touch on the importance of process in sales. So obviously, it's not about randomly going out and doing all these sales activities. How important is kind of process when it comes to approaching sales?
Setting out your process is massively important, just as a starting point. If you don't know how your processes run from a figures perspective, so I'm not just talking from a market perspective, but actually looking at how your numbers run within your business, it's going to cause you issues because you're not going to be able to decide where you're putting resource into. So to give you an example, if I reach out to 100 people, I mean, this is the very start of our funnel, and this is how we look to fill the funnel. If I start and prospect to 100 people, I know on average that I can probably engage 1 out of 2 of those people. So that now means that I've taken from 100 at the very top of my funnel down to 50 that I'm now engaging with. Out of that 50, when I speak to them, I can probably go out of that 50, I can convert about 20% into a proposal. So that means that from that 50, I'm now taking that down to 10 people that I'm going to get a proposal out to. I then know out of that 10 people that I get a proposal out to, half of those will convert into a second phone call from the proposal. So from that, I've now got 5 people in there. So I've took that down from 100 at the top down to 5 at the bottom that I'm actually going to potentially turn into revenue. Out of that 5, 4 of them might convert, 3 of them I can work out my averages and work out what my conversion rate is from that. If I then know what my average client value is, if each one of those clients is worth on average to me 10 grand, for example, I then can predict that if I put 100 in at the top, I'm going to get 5 out of the bottom, which is going to give me an average of 50k per month. So now I know that I need to reach out to 100 people that month and get this many proposals out and work it down, as just said there. Once you've done that and you've set that up, you can then decide where you're going to put resources. Because if you know that you can put 100 in at the top and get 50k out of the bottom, and then go, well, why don't I recruit another salesperson who can do 100 at the top, convert it? Or I need to put more in at the top, so I need to go to a company like Nomi and go, we need more leads. Can you help put me a video together that I can use as part of that process? Yeah. Or you might put that in at the top so the video will create awareness, but I might go to Nomi, do you know what? I'm getting 20 proposals out and I'm only converting 5 out of those. Yeah. If I had a video as part of my proposal system, I'll convert 10 because people look at it and go, wow, I really like the emotion and energy. So there's so many different ways that video as a tech, you can use that within the process. So many different things that you can fine tune within your funnel that will help you get more out of the bottom. You can put more in the top, you can increase your conversion rates, or you can upsell, cross-sell when you get to the bottom. Those are the 3 main ways of getting things through your funnel, which all good ways, just depends really where the biggest challenge is, or we call it a leaky funnel. Depends where your biggest leaks are in your funnel.
Yeah, no, it's really important to know that. And I think you've mapped it out in very simple terms there for people to understand. And I've actually answered one of my other questions, which I was going to add on anyway, how video can be used in sales and how it's going to become more important as sales processes go on. But you just hit the nail on the head there. It can be used in various parts of the funnel for different reasons, and to kind of make the most of, your conversions basically in the end. I know you guys, I've seen you guys on LinkedIn, you especially use a lot of video, and it's valuable video, it's valuable content. But like I'm guessing you're finding that people are engaging with that video or their videos, and it is helping your business in a sense where it's just good because I get a real good feel for who Jonathan is as well at the same time. And you hit both of it on the head where you've got the knowledge there, and then you've also got the personability, which comes across really well. So yeah, you've kind of answered that for us. So yeah, I think I could go on for ages with you, Jonathan, but we're gonna close it up. I mean, I think we've touched on some really important points there. I think there's some really valuable information there for people. Me personally, I've known you guys for a while. Anybody out there who's maybe struggling for sales, needs any kind of sales advice, I would recommend getting in touch with Jonathan or Rich, who run Sales Geek, and just having conversation with them. I'm sure you guys are happy to have conversations with people just to start with, just to see if they're the right kind of fit for you guys, and if you can give them advice on improving their business. Sales, wherever I go, sales always seems to be an issue, whether it's a 50-man sales department or a one-man sales department. There's always an issue in sales. I think it's an important part of a business to address. And like I said, I recommend chatting to these guys. In terms of Jonathan, for you guys, I mean, if you could just give us an overview of how people could get in touch with you, and perhaps some of the stuff you'd be happy to advise on for people watching this.
Yeah, absolutely. The best way to connect is all for me is through LinkedIn. I mean, if you're not sure whether to reach out, we're a reasonably friendly bunch, so drop us a message through, or vice versa. One of the best ways I think to get to know us as a business is if you follow the Sales Geek page, or get in contact with us directly and follow us through profiles. We do a lot of activity on social media, so we put quite a lot of content out there, which hopefully you'll find beneficial. But we've got packages available to support clients from anything from £10 a month. So we've got an online archive of content that we can offer to people for £10 per month, which has been making some huge differences for a lot of salespeople. So anyone wants to chat, please reach out. Jonathan Finch, FISM at the end of it on LinkedIn. You'll find me under Sales Geek.
No worries. I'll put your link in somewhere in the video, the status as well, and I'll link to Sales Geek website as well, so people can get in touch, and hopefully people leave comments and engage with this particular video. But yeah, thanks again for talking to us today, Jonathan. I hope we can do more of this. I think it's been really, really valuable to learn from you. But yeah, like I said, we'll get this out and see if the audience like us or not. But we'll I look forward to having more conversations with you. And thanks again for taking the time. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Norman.
That brings this Why Business podcast to a close, but not to worry, the next episode will be out soon. Like, share, subscribe, follow, you know the drill. Thanks for listening.
Game over.